Alright, so let's go ahead and rewrite each trig expression in terms of sine and cosine and simplify. It's an expression because there is no equal sign. It tells us to change them into all sines and cosines and then simplify. My variable here is t. If you ever have a lowercase t, you use uppercase so you don't confuse it with the plus sign. Cosecant can be turned into what? 1 over sine. How come? There is the reciprocal identity. Now I'm going to separate my fraction to be cotangent t times 1 over secant t. And this separation can help us identify which identity to use next. So I have 1 over sine t minus, class, what can we turn cotangent t into? How come I can use cosine over sine? That is the quotient identity. And secant is 1 over secant is just going to be cosine of t, or that's the reciprocal identity. Alright, over here it's multiplication. So now I have 1 over sine of t minus, I'm going to multiply the numerators. Cosine times cosine is cosine squared t. And this is just sine of t. Class, do we have a common denominator? Yeah, now I can combine them. 1 minus cosine squared t over sine of t. Okay, we're almost there. This is probably one of the hardest ones, or the hardest forms. It doesn't look exactly like the identity. You know the Aries picture I showed you for the seat change? You may have changed a little bit, right? Maybe you colored your hair, you cut it, you style it a different way. Same thing with the identity here. With your partner, I want you to talk about which Pythagorean identity does this one look like. Ready, set, go. Jesus? Give me the Pythagorean identity we'll probably be using, but it's a form of this one.
Sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1.
Now it doesn't look exactly like that, but it has 1 minus cosine squared. So essentially what we're doing here is we're subtracting 1 from both sides. So now I have negative 1 plus cosine is positive, sine squared theta. Why did I do that? We're just trying to get sine by itself, right? Try that again, Mr. Ng. No eraser. You can't mark me off for messy because I use a pen to help you guys see it. I would just subtract cosine squared theta from both sides. That would give us sine squared theta equals 1 minus cosine squared theta. Do you see my substitution here? We're using a form of the Pythagorean identity. Now, our variables are different. That's okay. So, class, instead of writing 1 minus cosine squared t, I'm going to write what? Sine squared. There's my substitution. And really remember, what does sine t squared mean? How many sines do I have? You have 2 of them. You can cancel them and you're left with sine of t. Push back your desk. Have a good day.